Chris, I got the welding material out of the truck.
That was on our box. We have the part number, a description of the conductors that are being connected, along with the weld metal size. If you ever need to get a hold of us, you have screws, and you can see that and get a nice lock on the handle clamp. Now, if the handle clamp is out of adjustment, if it's too loose or if it's too tight, there is an adjustment mechanism here on the handle clamp. You can adjust the throw of the clamp, either make it tighter or looser. That's in the box. The shelf life of a box of weld metal is indefinite, provided that it's kept free from moisture and vibration. So let's open it up and see what we have in here. First thing that we'll notice is that each box of weld metal comes packaged with a required disc to make the connection. On the tube of weld metal, you can see that the part components in here. The first main component, which makes up the bulk of the material, is copper oxide and aluminum. There's a little bit of tin in there and some other ingredients. This is the starting powder. This is what we're going to use to ignite the reaction. Now, the starting powder is made out of the same components as the weld metal itself. It's just ground into this finer form. That lowers the ignition temperature to about 850 degrees. To give us a bad connection. Right. So we're going to take our torch and dry it out. And you can actually see the moisture that's coming off the mold. It's very important that we get this moisture out. A lot of times you hear guys say that their first connection of the day looks bad and they have to redo it. It's because they're not drying their mold properly before that first connection.
So that moisture that's in the graphite ends up in our connection.
Exactly. There you go. That way you won't have to worry about messing the connection up. So let's go ahead, put our conductors in the mold. All right, good. Our conductors are in the mold. Now what we're going to do is take our disc and we're going to drop it in the mold. You want to make sure that your disc is properly seated so it's completely covering the tap hole. We don't want any weld metal sneaking past the disc, otherwise we're going to get a bad connection.
Right.
Then we're going to take our weld metal dump it in the mold. We're going to knock our starting powder loose, and we're going to put about half of it on top of the weld metal, close the cover, and then the rest of it goes inside the cover opening. Now when you're done with the tube of weld metal, ignite the reaction. Okay? After the reaction starts, we're going to pull the flint igniter away, and we'll be ready to roll.
Right.
That's all there is to it. After the reaction is done, you want to wait about 10 to 15 seconds to let everything solidify.
Right.
Now what happened there is that welding material, the copper oxide and aluminum, once we ignited it, started a chemical reaction, an exothermic chemical reaction, which is a fancy term which means it gives off heat. That copper oxide and aluminum connection. Let's open it up and see what we have.
Okay.
Now this material right here, this is the aluminum oxide. That's the slag product of the reaction I was just talking about. But here you can see our completed Cadweld connection. What we're looking for is a solid gold color on the weld. We don't want to see any pinholes, and we don't want to see a lot of slag included in the connection.
Right.
As long as you do everything correctly, you should never have a problem. In fact, this is restaurant quality right here.
Excellent. Well, that's a good looking connection, Chris.
Hey, thanks, George. Now, let's show everybody how to properly clean the mold. As I mentioned before, you're going to want to use a natural bristle brush or something soft to remove the slag in the mold. Now, we're not here to scrub the mold. We just want to gently brush it to get the remaining slag out of the mold.
And it's important that it is a natural bristle brush because nylon brushes melt.
If you properly take care of your mold, you'll be able to get more connections out of it, get a better use out of your mold.
Material comes off pretty easily.
Yep, just simple
Weld
as that.
material package. The Cadweld Plus is color coded to tell you size. The important information, as was on the box, also follows this unit so we can tell what the lot of the welding material was and the size of the weld material package, which is number 200, the same thing that you used in yours. So all we have to do is take our package and put it into our mold.
Where's the disc?
Ah, glad you asked. We have our control unit, Our control unit has an engineered clip that allows us to hook it up to the igniter strip. There's a line on the igniter strip that tells us how far to slide the, and it doesn't matter which way we put the clip on. There is no upside down, right side up, just a piece of cake.
Good.
The cover that you used before with the starting material works perfectly for our Cadweld+.
I don't need a separate mold for Cadweld+.
Nope.
All right.
Our control unit uses standard AA batteries and probably will have a life of somewhere in the vicinity of 700 reactions. We have a light on the control unit that tells us when it's ready to go. All we have to do is press the button and let her rip.
Hey, George, I noticed that the control unit has a 6-foot lead. That must come in pretty handy when you're out in the field.
Yes, it does, especially if you're working a substation like we are today. If we were down in a ditch, it would make our life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, that's nice.
So let's make this Cadweld+ connection.
All right.
Press the button.
Just that easy, huh?
Just like that. So just like you did with your reaction, we want to wait a second or two to let the welding material solidify before we open up our mold and check out our results.
So there's no starting powder, no disc, no flint gun?
Nope. It's the same Cadweld reaction, just with a few less components and basically easier to do.
I like it.
A lot of the slag materials are contained in the Cadweld+ unit. And we have the same Cadweld connection, our PT connection, just like you made.
Geez, George, I really like that. No disc to kit, no starting powder to blow away in the wind. You got a nice 6-foot core there. I really like it.
Yep, it's the same Cadweld connection, just a little easier to do, a few less components. Same quality. Well, I guess we're about ready to wrap this up.
Yeah, let's clean up the job site and head back to the plant.
I'm ready. You say, don't curb your style. Ground permanently with Cadweld. Let's go get some coffee.
All right, George, sounds good.